The sun peeked over the horizon of a city that never really slept. Bustling with ambition and choked with exhaust fumes and hopes alike, it welcomed yet another dreamer, Amaka. She had just finished her one-year compulsory national youth service and was determined not to return to her hometown. Her dreams were too big for the small spaces she came from. She had saved every naira she could, sacrificing outings, clothes, and even occasional meals. With that money, she paid a year's rent for a modest one-room apartment in a developing part of town and stocked up on basic foodstuff, enough to last her a few months. Her heart thudded with both excitement and uncertainty. This was it. Her chance to carve out the life she had always imagined. Every morning, armed with her neatly printed resume, she trekked from one company to another in the industrial areas of the city. She submitted hard copies of her application where permitted, and sent online versions during the evenings. Each passing day brought silence. But she persisted. 2 months later, just when her savings were beginning to dwindle dangerously, her phone rang. The caller ID showed an unknown number. "Hello, good afternoon. Is this Miss Amaka?" "Yes, speaking. This is City Core Systems. You applied for the receptionist position." Her breath hitched. "Yes, I did. Can you come in for an interview tomorrow at 9 a.m. She could barely sleep that night. And when the interview was over, she knew in her gut this was hers. Over the course of 18 months with the company, Mr. Raymond has developed a deep appreciation not only for her professionalism but also for her character and demeanor. And as the morning sun filtered through the rustling curtains of Amaka's modest one-bedroom flat in Suraleh, dancing lazily across the faded rug beneath her bare feet. Her kettle whistled softly on the stove, and the scent of brewing ginger tea filled the air. It was her ritual, a quiet pause before the chaos of Lagos stirred to life. She stirred the tea slowly, savoring the warmth in her palm. Her phone buzzed on the table. She picked it up absently, only to find her breath catch in her throat. It was from Raymond. The message was simple. "Amaka, I hope you've been well. There's an opportunity I'd like to discuss, one that could change your career trajectory. Let's meet over dinner. My treat. 7 p.m. Blue Orchid Restaurant." Blue Orchid wasn't just any restaurant. It was where Lagos elite closed deals and whispered secrets. Her thumb hovered over the screen. For a moment, she was back in that conference room, the sharp suit, the long hours, the polite smiles hiding poison. But this invitation, it shimmered with possibility. After all, wasn't this what she had prayed for? A second chance to rise. By evening, she stood before her mirror, smoothing the wrinkles from her sky blue blouse. She looked strong, measured, ready. But beneath that, a question paused in her heart. What does he really want? The Blue Orchid was aglow with golden lights, its glass walls framing the city skyline like art. Amaka's heels clicked on the marble floor as a host led her to a private booth tucked near a window. Raymond was already there. Dressed in a crisp navy suit, his presence still carried the magnetic confidence that had once intimidated everyone around him. "Amaka," he said, rising to pull out her chair. "You look incredible." She offered a tight smile. "Thank you. So do you." They ordered wine. The waiter brought grilled prawns and peppered goat. Conversation started light, updates, memories, a few laughs. But Amaka kept her posture straight, her mind alert. Then came the turn. "You know, I always saw something in you," he said, swirling his glass. "You're sharp, calculated, ethical, but not naive. That's rare." He leaned forward. "You know, I have always wanted you by my side. But not in the old way. This time, as my strategy lead. You have power, freedom, a real seat at the table." Amaka's breath caught. This was beyond what she expected. The salary alone would transform her life. Her mother's medical bills, her younger brother's tuition, they all flashed before her eyes. But, Raymond said, his voice lowering, there are expectations. A long pause. Loyalty. Discretion. And the ability to make tough calls without asking too many questions. He reached across the table, fingers grazing hers. And I know you're capable of far more than you showed before. You just need the right incentives. The wine soured on her tongue. In that moment, the illusion shattered. This was not an offer. It was a test. A trap. A door wrapped in silk but hiding rot. Amaka leaned back, heart pounding. I'll think about it, she said, rising. But I don't accept deals that ask me to trade my soul. Raymond's smile faltered, just slightly. You're still as principled as ever. No, she said, picking up her bag. I'm stronger now. Outside, the Lagos night paused with traffic and neon lights. She walked into the breeze, the taste of freedom and regret tangled on her lips. She had no job offer. No fallback plan. But she had her dignity. And that had to be worth something. The restaurant was breathtaking, golden chandeliers dangled like stars frozen in time, soft jazz humming beneath murmured conversations. Amaka sat across from Mr. Raymond, unsure why she had agreed to come. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe hope that it would be professional. But as he leaned in with that unmistakable gleam in his eyes, her stomach churned. Amaka, he began, swirling the wine in his glass like a master of unspoken games, you're intelligent. Beautiful. Loyal. I see potential in you, not just at work. I can open doors you never knew existed. Her fork paused midair. The soft lights couldn't soften the sharp edges of his words. I believe in my work ethic, sir. Not shortcuts, she replied quietly. His smile faded. Think about it. There's no shame in rising through favor. Everyone does it. But she was already rising from her seat. I came here for dinner. Not a proposition. She walked out, leaving behind her untouched meal and an atmosphere thick with disappointment and pride. Monday morning arrived, and so did the burden in Amaka's chest. The office felt colder, as if it, too, sensed the shift in the air. Wearing her usual poise like armor, Amaka stepped into Raymond's office. Her heels clicked steadily on the floor, but inside, her heart raced. He looked up from his laptop, his expression unreadable. Have you thought about my offer? She handed him a sealed brown envelope. He opened it, skimmed the first line, and blinked. You're resigning. I am. Because of what I said. No, she replied, her voice even. Because of what I stand for. A tense silence stretched between them. You regret this, he said at last. Maybe, she said, but I'd rather sleep with peace than dying with regret. She turned and walked out. Heads lifted as she passed through the office, some in shock, some in admiration, and some in silent envy. Days turned to weeks. The applause in her spirit dimmed under the weight of bills and uncertainty. Her bank account began to whisper warnings. Meals became simpler, lighter. Data subscriptions had to be rationed. Hope flickered, sometimes faintly. Friends reached out. At first, to sympathize. Then, to question. Girl, how can you let a small moral battle rob you of your future? One text read. Another said bluntly, you self-deform holy past Jesus. Wake up. She didn't respond. Not because she didn't feel the sting, but because she feared what she might say. For months passed. For months of waiting, applying, fasting, and sometimes just crying. On a humid Sunday morning, Amaka volunteered at her church's media desk. As usual, she smiled, adjusted wires, and served. After service, Brother Ola approached her, a soft-spoken, observant man in the ushering team. Sister Amaka, he said gently, I admire your consistency. There's an opening at a consultancy firm where a friend works. Would you like me to refer you? She blinked. Yes, please. Thank you. That night, she updated her CV with trembling hands. Her fingers hovered over the send button for a second longer than necessary before she finally pressed it. Hope flickered again. The interview invitation arrived a week later. But along with the joy came a sudden chill. They needed a reference letter. She stared at the requirements for a long time, her reflection caught in her laptop screen. Her past was demanding to be confronted. She dressed the next morning in muted colors, but her inner turmoil was anything but quiet. The office receptionist gasped upon seeing her. Amaka. You're back. Others came forward, whispering greetings and offering hugs. Mr. Raymond's door opened slowly. He leaned against the frame, arms folded. I knew you'd come back, he said. I came for a reference letter, sir. His eyebrows arched. You still expect favors? I expect professionalism. He stared at her. Something unreadable flashed in his eyes. Leave it, he finally said. We'll see. She nodded, left the form, and walked away, unsure if her strength would survive another blow. For the first time in years, Mr. Raymond's confidence crumbled. He sat in his office long after hours, staring into space. Amaka's unwavering strength echoed in his mind. No tantrums. No threats. Just dignity. His thoughts drifted to his estranged wife, the gentle woman he once loved but drifted from. The children he rarely saw. The women who came and went, like shadows. What have I become? That night, he found himself on his knees for the first time in years. The walls didn't collapse. But something inside him did. By morning, the reference was signed and sealed. Not just filled, but elevated. Amaka is competent, principled, and invaluable. Her integrity is unmatched. If ever she chooses to return, I will rehire her without hesitation. He didn't send it out of pity, but respect. Amaka sat at her new desk, sunlight pouring through the wide glass window behind her. The office walls, painted in hues of soft cream and olive green, calmed her nerves. It smelled of polished wood and ambition. Her nameplate, Amaka Uma, strategic consultant, gleamed with promise. The consultancy firm, Oakbridge Solutions, was a universe apart from the place she'd walked away from months ago. Here, people smiled with sincerity. Colleagues paused to chat without suspicion. Her team lead, a soft-spoken woman named Ngozi, welcomed her on the first day with a hug and a folder full of projects. You're not just here to fill a seat, Ngozi had said, you're here because your name came with weight. Amaka never told her that the weight was earned through fire and tears. In those early weeks, Amaka gave her best, staying late, researching deeply, and speaking with precision. And as each client left satisfied, as each report earned praise, something inside her healed. The storm was over. But the rain had nourished her soul. Back in the farm she had left, a different kind of storm was brewing. Raymond sat alone in his office, the edges of his tailored life unraveling. He had once prided himself on power, on the quiet control he held over others. But Amaka's departure, her refusal, had pierced that veil. He remembered her silence more than her words. How she didn't argue. How she didn't plead. How she walked away with her spine straight and her dignity intact. And for the first time in years, Raymond saw himself, not as a boss or a man, but as a shadow. A man who had forgotten his values. A husband drifting through a cold house. A father his children barely knew. One night, unable to sleep, he sat on the edge of his bed and whispered a confession to the dark. I'm tired of pretending. His wife stood beside him, watching quietly as he broke open. That week, he began making changes. He cancelled meetings that didn't matter. Attended therapy. Invited his wife to lunch. spoke to his son without checking his phone. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned to months, and months turned to years. A new man has been formed. One night, as they watched an old home video, he held the wife by the hand and said, "Thank you for waiting for me to come back." Years has passed as Amaka's laughter rang out in her modest apartment as she and her fiancé, Ebuka, addressed their wedding invitations. They were getting married in 3 months' time, and on their list for invitation is Mr. and Mrs. Raymond. So Amaka went visiting, but this time with her fiancé Ebuka in Mr. Raymond's office. It was a nice meeting after years of his transformational change, which is no longer news in the city. For Amaka and her fiancé it was another invitation, but for Mr. Raymond and his wife it was time to reward someone who has brought change to their world. "I will be out of the country for a business meeting," Mr. Raymond said. "I have got a trip to China same week of the wedding, but will be sending my wife. She has always wanted to meet with you. But once I'm back from China I will pay you a visit with my family," Mr. Raymond added. The wedding was said to be a traditional affair with modern flair. Their love had blossomed in resilience, not romance novels. They'd met at a workshop on sustainable development, bonded over late-night talks about dreams and duty, and grown closer during her months of unemployment. Ebuka, calm as ocean wind, had stood beside her through doubt and recovery. And now, he would stand with her forever. The ceremony was held under the open skies, with palm trees dancing in the breeze and drums beating like heartbeats. Amaka wore an ivory lace gown that shimmered under the sun, while Ebuka looked regal in his emerald agbada. Guests whispered blessings, and old women all related as the couple exchanged their vows. In the middle of the reception, a silver SUV pulled up, drawing everyone's gaze. As Mrs. Raymond stepped forward, draped in wine-colored iro and buba, elegance and warmth in every step. "I came here not just to witness a wedding, but to honor a woman," she said. "This is from both of us," pointing at the silver SUV, "a gift. Not for what you did, but for who you are." Gasps filled the air. Amaka was frozen. The crowd erupted in cheers. Tears rolled down her cheeks as Ebuka held her close. In that moment, she realized her story had stopped being just hers. It had become a seed, bearing fruit in unexpected places. 2 weeks into married life, Amaka and Ebuka received a visitor. The Raymonds came bearing not just smiles, but gifts wrapped in envelopes and grace. "Your wedding was beautiful," Raymond said, sitting with Ebuka on the balcony while the woman spoke inside. "And watching you today reminded me of what I once was, and what I almost lost." From his briefcase, he pulled out 2 envelopes. "The first," he said, handing one to Amaka, "is your honeymoon. Paid in full, Dubai. 5-star suite, private beach access, and a spa I think you'll love." Amaka's eyes widened. But before she could speak, he passed the second envelope to Ebuka. "The second is a choice. UK or US. Job offers. Full relocation support. Starting salaries to match your brilliance. 6-month accommodation covered." Ebuka opened the envelope, eyes darting across the offer letter. He looked at Amaka, whose eyes had welled again. "You don't owe us this," Amaka said. Raymond smiled. "We owe you everything." A year later, snow fell gently on the rooftops of Canterbury. Inside a cozy townhouse, Amaka stirred a pot of egusi while Ebuka typed an email to his research institute. The kitchen was warm. Their toddler played with a stuffed lion by the fireplace. Life was full, but not crowded. Peaceful, not loud. Amaka had risen to a managerial role in her firm's London branch. But beyond the titles, she had become a beacon for young African professionals navigating complex worlds with fragile values. She gave talks, mentored girls, started a blog called The Integrity Chronicles, telling stories that weren't hers alone but felt familiar to many. Back home, Mr. Raymond's book, The Long Walk to Honor, became a bestseller. His marriage had healed. His children now called him Dad with affection, not obligation. And all this because one woman, once broke, tired, and mocked, had chosen to walk out of a restaurant instead of into regret. Not all battles are loud. Some are quiet, waged in boardrooms and behind closed doors. And some heroes don't wear capes. They wear dignity. This is an incredibly inspiring and emotionally charged narrative. The journey of Amaka, from humble beginnings to a life shaped by her integrity, resilience, and the rewards of her moral choices, is a powerful tale of personal growth and redemption. Each chapter builds on the strength of her character, showing her unwavering commitment to her principles, even in the face of great personal and financial struggle. The story does an excellent job highlighting the subtle but profound ways in which integrity can reshape not just a person's life but the lives of those around them, even leading to the transformation of others, like Raymond. It shows that true success doesn't just come from professional achievements or wealth but from staying true to oneself and making decisions that align with one's values. Hold on to your values, even when the world offers you shortcuts. They may laugh at you today, but your reward will silence them tomorrow. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful African stories that teach, uplift, and transform. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a tale that could change your life.